All right, Piss and Vinegar Day 65, arm wrestling day. So I already did a commentary of this video, but then I stopped halfway because I was kind of rambling as I do sometimes, and I got distracted. But I was originally talking about how much I admire Larry Wheels, but now I'm just going to talk about arm wrestling in general throughout this video because I have a few different things I want to talk about. So first thing is, yeah, Larry. That dude, he just had a match recently with Leonidas Arconis and got beaten really heavy on the left arm, and everyone thought he had a pretty good chance. I genuinely thought there was no way he was going to lose. He's been looking incredible lately, and his left arm is dominant compared to his right. But Leonidas Arconis, that guy's no fucking joke. He's a beast, and like you see his lifts and shit too. And it's funny because you look at his frame and hands and everything, it doesn't look, he doesn't look special. Larry looks special. Larry's got some big fucking hands, and he looks special. Whereas Leonidas Arconis just kind of looks like a bodybuilder, but yet he's fucking incredibly strong on the table, and he's an incredibly strong powerlifter. I mean, you look at his lifts; they're comparable, if not sometimes better than Larry's. The strict curl for one. So, fucking props to him. I'd like to see a right arm match. I don't know where Leonidas's right arm is. I know, Larry has a pretty good right arm, although his left is better. So I'd imagine if Leonidas has got a better right hand than his left, then he'll beat Larry on that too. But it'd be cool to see that happen again. And it was fun. It's cool to see those guys because they're two guys that only recently got into arm wrestling, but they're very genetically gifted / very smart and motivated people with also a lot of steroids. That's not taken away from them, but they're in this same boat where they're like hardcore roiders that are very knowledgeable with training, and in the same boat where they're incredible bodybuilders / powerlifters / potential strongmen. Oh, that's right, this thing broke off, and I had to tie it back up. Which is a quick note, actually. I tied it back up smaller, so the rope wasn't as long, which made the lift a lot harder. I didn't realize that. When you make these wrist attachments, fat grips with belts or whatever, the shorter the rope, the harder it is. I don't know what the mechanics on that is, but it just happened to be that. So keep that in mind if you're ever doing lifts or if you're changing attachments and it's feeling harder or easier, it's because the rope might be longer or shorter. So food for thought. But anyway, back to what I was saying. They're two genetic elites, heavy roiders, all these different things, very comparable, similar sort of size and heights and stuff. So it was an interesting match to see these genetic elites who had just got into the arm wrestling. It was destined to happen, and hopefully it happens again in another 5 years when they're even better and they're both, champions in their own right. But yeah, and people were saying, Larry's done. He keeps losing. Nah, man, Larry. Larry. He has won a lot of matches recently. If you watch him in tournaments, he's just crushing these professional arm wrestlers who've been doing it for 20 years sometimes, and he's only been doing it for 4. And if he didn't quit back when he was running King of the Table / competing in it, like his name and the actual mind blanking. The brand, King of the Table brand and name was both linked, and a lot of it was predicated on his ability increased in arm wrestling. Obviously a big part of it is just the matches and the marketing, but it isn't good for the brand when you're the face of it and you're losing every fucking match. And yet he kept going for it. So the dude is clearly very dedicated to arm wrestling, albeit he's got other things on his plate. He runs a business, he does bodybuilding, he wants to do a classic physique up show and all these things. But anyway, that aside, all props to him. He's doing great. And then I was also going to talk about Ryan Bowen, and this kind of ties into Larry, where Larry has all the genetics in the world, all the gear, all the knowledge, and he's gotten so good in the last 3 or 4 years. And then you have someone like Ryan Bowen, who is on the total other side of the spectrum. He's a very average kind of guy. Like, he's not genetically gifted in any right. I mean, normal size hands. He's like 6'1", so he's not super tall. He's just kind of like a slightly above average guy that doesn't really have very good muscle genetics, though. Like, he's having a very difficult time building muscle until very recently when he jumped on the juice. But this guy's a huge inspiration to me also. So like, you know, you got to thank Larry and Devin and Engen. They're the big three when it comes to the popularity of the sport. They've made absolute waves, and I have the utmost respect for those guys. And then I really look up to Ryan as a relatable character in a sense that he doesn't have all these great gifts that other guys have, and yet he's an elite arm wrestler, and that's super inspirational to me. Him and Todd Hutchings both, actually. Both incredible athletes, both very average genetics, and yet through just great training, logic, and perseverance, they've become top arm wrestlers. I mean, Todd even more so. Like, Ryan, you know, compared to Todd, I mean, Todd smashed Ryan, so if anything, I respect Todd even more, because the thing about Todd too is Ryan's 6'1", and you know, he's kind of like a bigger guy, because you know the average height's 5'9", so Ryan's kind of a big dude actually. He's just got kind of like mid genetics when it comes to building muscle. Todd Hutchings is 5'10" and almost 60 years old, and a way better arm wrestler than Ryan. And this is no flack to Ryan, because I heavily respect Ryan, but then I kind of just started thinking about Todd too, who is my favorite arm wrestler to watch. I just love watching him do his side pressure and just crush these dudes that weigh 40, 50 kilos heavier than him. But Todd Hutchings is the biggest inspiration to me. He's like the perfect example of, if you don't have the best genetics, but you're really logical, you're really intelligent, and you find an angle to work with, in his case side pressure, you can get ahead in life, like whether it be a sport, business, etc. Don't let your genetics dictate whether or not you can be good at something. Now, in saying this, it's a cop-out, because I don't actually want to pursue arm wrestling. So all this is, you know, like, if I really truly believe this, I should be like, oh, then I'll get into arm wrestling professionally too. No, because I don't have the passion like, you know, Ryan or Todd Hutchings do. So when you're a genetic, when you're of average genetics, or in my case, below average genetics, because my hands are very small, you can't then also half-ass the training and the lifestyle of an arm wrestler or whatever sport or hobby it is, and then try to be the best in the world or one of the best, because you're already fighting an uphill battle against your genetics. So you have to be absolutely committed. And if you're not absolutely committed to it and you're below average, then you're kidding yourself. Like, if you're, you know, 8 foot tall and have fucking 1 foot long hands, you could totally half-ass arm wrestling, be absolutely terrible, like, for the training and the technique. But the fact is, you are built like a fucking space marine, and thus you barely need to try, and you can be the best. And then the problem is, you get guys like Levan Seganesvilis who are built like fucking space marines, who are, you know, 6'3", wrist bigger than my biceps, just an absolute specimen. Plus, his training is really good. Plus, his diet's probably not the best as far as health-wise, but he's very bulked. And he's roided to the fucking gills. He's on all the fucking human growth hormone imaginable. And yeah, all these different things are in order. He's doing all the things that the genetic runt is doing to try to get ahead. Plus, he's a genetic specimen. So obviously, there is a certain point where Ryan Bowen can never become the best in the world, or Todd Hutchings very unlikely could ever beat Levan Seganesvili. But they can do very well. They can be the top level. They can be in the top, you know, 15, top 20 of their weight category at least. So, yeah, I'm all over the fucking place today. I had a huge bowl of pasta, so my brain's not working super great right now. But basically, what I'm trying to say is, those guys are super inspirational. I like watching Todd crush these guys who are genetically superior with his superior training methods and mindset. It is very inspirational. And I cut my fucking wrist on this machine. It's super dangerous. So my whole gym is a hazard. I keep fucking cutting myself up and almost neutering myself and almost smacking my fucking skull in with these different contraptions I build. At the end here, it spirals out and it like fucking cuts my wrist. And it only just nicked my wrist, luckily, because the wrist has got the brachioradialis, or the brachial artery that runs down into your wrist, or the radial artery And if that fucking severs, you're bleeding out. You gotta go to the hospital. So luckily it didn't fully penetrate my wrist, but it nicked it. And yeah, I'm constantly almost dying from my gym equipment, but hopefully no more injuries. I have to cut that bolt off so it's less dangerous. And I also installed the aircon in my gym today, which is really good. My gym was nice and cold because it's fucking hot here in summer right now. And my phone kept dying halfway through my recordings. So it was time to cool down my shed. Also, my clients, my personal training clients, much prefer a cold gym than a stinking fucking 35-degree tin shed. So that was a bit of a task. Surprised I didn't almost kill myself trying to get that fucking aircon up in that piece of wood that I cut out. So injury prone, so hazard prone. And this pronation machine I've built, though, although dangerous and trying to kill me, is fucking so good. Not only is it good for really isolating the pronator and standardizing it, and just generally feeling my pronator muscle, it's super good for force reps because I can use my other arm to artificially rotate the bar. So one of the problems with doing the pronation how I used to, doubled up over two hands, is one, it's less sports specific because you don't use both arms in an arm wrestler, you use one. And two, I couldn't do force reps because it wasn't unilateral. So I fucking love this machine that I've made, regardless of it trying to cut my arteries open. And then today I did something slightly different for my extensors. Normally I do my extensors with the easy curl bar. I do reverse flexion or extension rather, but today I wanted to see how this felt, and this was too light. My extensors have gotten way too strong. So I remember about 3 or 4 years ago doing these forearm rolls, and I remember doing like 15 kilos with the extensors, and like doing like 3 or 4 of these upwards, like up, and do like 3 or 4 rounds of that, and by the end of it my forearms would give out. Now it was too light. I started doing fucking one arm. I'm doing one arm forearm extension, and even that was too light. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to try these again. I'll make it a bit heavier. See if it might just not be ideal. Maybe I should just use the other variation that I've just been using that has gotten me to this point. Just doing those forearm extensions with the barbell every week, one set to failure, has gotten my forearm extensors really strong, and that's super good for wrist and elbow health, because you can't make your flexors too strong. But also aesthetically, it has massively improved my physique because the extensors are so important for having big forearms. And if you have shitty forearm genetics like I do, mine is so real kind of shitty. They don't look shitty anymore, but they used to look like absolute shit. And big part of that was not just doing flexion, increasing, also adding extension. So this felt good. And it was good for the grip too, because it's a fat bar and my thumb was getting activated, but it's just too light. Forearm flexors getting too fucking strong, man. So it was good to know. But yeah, next time I'll try doing these with a bit heavier. But I'll still have to do it one arm at a time, because to do it with 2 arms, I would need like 60, 70 kilos in order for this to feel heavy enough. So, but this felt good. They gave my hand a pump too, which is rare, because normally I just get forearm pumps. But part of arm wrestling is your ability to yeah, there it is. I fucking almost cut my wrist way open there. But anyway, can't really see it. Or probably shouldn't show it actually, because it's gore, right? So you're not allowed to do that on YouTube. All right, see you guys tomorrow for more Piss and Vinegar. Bye bye.